Thanks, Amrit. All right. How old do you think omnichannel as a subject is? Right. I mean, let me give you my experience about not giving away my age. About some 17, 18 years back, I was working with Nike in the US, helping them implement an omnichannel solution. Right. And that time, this was a really big and a new concept, and everyone spoke about, oh, order online, pick up on store, order in the store, pick up, get it delivered at your place. So fundamentally, omnichannel as a topic has been around for far too long, right? And I always believe that if a topic is being discussed in forums like this, there are only two reasons, right? One is that it's for so long. I mean, if it's being discussed for so long, there are only two reasons for that. One, it's a fad, right? And like metaverse, if you remember, we had so many panel discussions on metaverse for so long, right? And we don't, which means it dies. The other one is that it's actually a relevant topic. It's a topic which is useful. It has its benefits, but most people are struggling with it, right? And I actually think omnichannel experience, omnichannel physical, digital, retail experiences are actually absolutely essential for everyone to deliver, but everyone's struggling with it, right? So that's the sort of say the context for what we're going to discuss, right? So that's one. Second is, and I think I don't want to sell this to the audience. You guys already are in the industry. We know e-com's going to grow, right? And yesterday also we heard a lot about growth of quick commerce. Yes, it'll keep changing, but digital commerce will continue to grow, right? And obviously there is this whole question about what's going to happen to the physical stores, retail stores, and so on and so forth. And there will be, sort of, as I say, a journey where both of them will coexist. But the most ideal situation will be when both of them feed against each other, right? Again, I don't want to go into the concept of showrooming or concept of, as I said, about order online, pick up offline, all of those things. So what we're going to try to address in the panel for next roughly about 25 minutes, and I have a wonderful panel, again, with really rich experience, and we were discussing right outside, some of them have implemented that really well, either in the current organizations or the previous organizations. Some of them are starting on that journey. So I think what we're going to try to do is to try to make the conversation more direct on what our experiences are, right? Because I'm sure conceptually we can keep talking about what it is, what works, what doesn't work. Conceptually, I mean, till the cows come home. But we're going to get a little bit more specific on saying what our experiences are, right? So I think there's one more, so to say, thing that I want to say in the context is, by the nature of this topic, if you own the digital channel and the physical channel, it makes it easier, right? And it's not that it's easy, but it makes it easier. And we'll have Manish talk about that a little bit. It's obviously when you don't have control over, where you only own one, you either own only the digital channel or the physical channels, where the challenge really is, right? So we're going to not worry too much about those, and I think because that's the nature of business, and I think all of you guys in the room have enough experience running businesses, being part of large or small businesses or new age businesses, so you guys understand what the challenges are, right? So okay, so I'm back to my panel, and I think one thing that we agreed was, we will try to have fun while we're having this discussion. We've thought about a few questions, but I'm going to trouble them a little bit so that they remember me after this, to ask them some questions that I haven't discussed with them. So if I may just go around the panel, and Mudit, if you can start with you. Just give us a sense of, again, what does it really mean for you? What's been the experience that you've had on omnichannel itself? Even examples that you believe truly represent what omnichannel brings on the table. We're happy to hear that. Go ahead.
Thanks. So, in a nutshell, when we try to discuss omnichannel, we end up with a very simple statement that it is all about being easy to find and buy. You're addressing three different touch points, one from a consumer behavior journey standpoint, second is physical availability, and third is obviously being relevant at the right time and the occasion for the person. Now, I've worked across different organizations with different approaches and different purchase cycles. So I would talk about the most relevant one first, which is paints, where I'm currently working. Now, the purchase cycle is around 5 years when you paint your house. In 5 years, the entire consumer behavior changes. And you need to be up to date to understand that, okay, a person doing X today, 5 years down the line, what would he be doing? So if I talk about the entire ecosystem, you've got a trade partner, you've got the end consumer, and then you have the brand and brand selling to the dealer. So it becomes a very difficult journey to stitch together because you are in control of certain facets. You are in control of creating mental availability, which is through media. You are in control of where your products are being displayed and sold, but you're not in control of what the consumer is going to do about it. You run ads, create the mental availability, but at the end of the day, when the person is in the cycle, he's calling people outside who are influencing it. So data diminishing starts, and as a brand, you can't really stitch everything together given the large number of stakeholders. So the current problem statement that we are trying to solve for is how do you bridge that? How do you create data points to actually create something omni-channel? Because without a unified journey, it's all hunky-dory to say, ha, ye kar lenge, wo kar lenge, we'll add this data set. But in all practical purposes, given that there are some 80,000 odd dealers, large dealer formats that exist in the country and many more smaller ones, it becomes a bit difficult to tie and stitch it. So while we are embarking on that journey, let's see where it goes. But on the same side, what you were talking about Nike, you take an example of a Decathlon or you take an example of Sephora, you realize that they've stitched that journey for the ease and convenience of the consumer. So that is truly omni-channel. But again, having said that, there are these offline elements which today I don't think there are solves for it. Will there be solves in the future? Probably, probably not. But I think time will say as tech grows. But yeah, from my experience, I think it's an interesting journey to embark on.
And Mudit, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question on that. And I agree. I think where you don't have a control of the entire value chain, how do you control the experience? How do you control what messaging that gets delivered? But again, I know you said you worked with Decathlon as well, right? And I think they do a fairly good job of that, right? I think what I want you to comment specifically on that even when you have your own experience, yes, you can get the tech in place, but how do you get the people to actually appreciate like the omni-channel experience itself?
So if you go by Decathlon's example, you have purchase points defined online, offline. You have ease of convenience built through the entire value add that you get in terms of it being agnostic. You can buy on store, you can sell it on the website, you can go return it in the store itself. Now, when you're creating value and when you're in a category where the purchase cycle is smaller and there's a certain amount of impulse created, then the journey becomes easier and better. So if I have to segment purchases where you average around 3 to 4 times a year versus purchases where you're doing once in 5 years, there's a dramatic difference. And that dramatic difference, I think brands need to be very conscious of where to invest and where to spend so that you're able to maximize it.
Yeah, and I think I'm just adding. So the value is very different, right? I mean, investing in Decathlon versus investing in Birla is going to be very different, right? I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Kritika, again, I'm going to also dip into your experience, not just at Plix, which is some wonderful work that you guys are doing, but also, I mean, your Trent, the West Sides and Zudio's examples, and how you're actually seeing both industries trying to deal with delivering an omni-channel customer experience, right? Which is the Uber of what all brands would want to deliver, how they're delivering.
Sure. So I'll talk about both the things and the differences between the two. So Plix is predominantly an online brand, and apart from its own D2C website, Plix is retailed across all the major e-commerce portals, now on quick commerce as well, and across 10,000 plus retail stores. But the retail stores are all MT and GT stores and not EBOs. For a D2C brand, EBO comes much later in the journey. It's not very native to us at all. So it's the MT and the GT one, and hence the data, while to a great extent can get stitched across all the online portals, whichever other points of sale that we have, be it Blinkit or be it Swiggy or be it any of the online things, offline becomes a big challenge for us. What we strive to do in such a case is that provide the customers with as seamless and consistent an experience as possible in the different stages of the journey, be it through the pre-purchase when a customer is seeking for information about what are the benefits, what are the ingredients that go for it. A customer, for example, in our website can come and take a product quiz, identify which is the right assortment of products to solve their concern in healthcare or in beauty, and then walk into and purchase it from a retail store, get further information from a beauty advisor who is sitting at that store and is able to explain much more in depth, or let them experience the product physically as well. The purchase can, of course, if the customer is inclined to have it delivered in 10 minutes, they can order it on quick commerce. Or if they prefer to pick it up at a chemist store or at a general store also, they can do it. And in terms of post-purchase, of course, we try to provide that unified experience over there, that irrespective of where you have purchased from, the kind of services that we provide along with our products remains consistent, and the communication on that remains consistent. The only challenge that comes big time over here is in retail, customers also reaching out to us. We give them many avenues to reach out to us, be it on social, scanning the QR code on the product and all. It is not as seamless as it would be if we had owned the stores and owned that experience. And that is something which, when I was in Tata Trent handling Westside and Zudio, we were able to do. All the stores were owned by us. The online channels, of course, were owned by us, in which case we had the consumer data from the beginning to the end. When a consumer walks into the stores, we know what they have browsed online. And we know that what was their last purchase, whether it was made online from a store, where it was, what is the loyalty points that they have. The minutes they go and give their number at the cash counter also, we can tell that, hey, these are some of the custom offers which are there for you. You can go and redeem. Even before they walk into the stores, even when we communicate with them, say on a YouTube or something, we know if a customer is walking into the store because we had implemented geofencing for the customer, wherein we can know that if after seeing any kind of input, any kind of marketing communication, if you have entered the store post that, we can track it back and know this action resulted from this. And everything was very seamless between the stores and online. But in D2C, it is still more limited. You can go up to a certain way, but it won't be 100%.
I think those are great points. And I'm actually going to underscore one that you mentioned. I'm a believer that customer experience is an Uber concept for an organization. What that means is how the customer experiences you before purchase. So that's, as Kirtika, you were saying, whether it's on my online channels, whether it's my advertising, right? I mean, that's customer experience. How are they experiencing my brand? What stories am I telling? Then obviously how I buy it, whether I buy it online or offline, and what experience do I drive that? And Kirtika, the point that you also mentioned is, what's my post-purchase experience as well? Irrespective in your context, whether the customer buys it on your own platform online or goes to, sort of say the modern trade outlets where you retail, if he has a post, sort of say, buying challenge, he's going to still come to you, right? So I think that's why I'm a big believer that as marketers, more that we focus on customer experience, customer journeys, and seeing what's the experience and, so to say, satisfaction I'm driving at each points of that journey. I think that'll help us deliver something which is more than just advertising or engagement or messaging and so on and so forth. So I think that's a great point, Kirtika. All right, Manish. And I think of all people that are on the panel, the guy who's most omni-channel is Manish, right? And I did a little bit of work before this panel. You go on Pizza Hut's website. They don't just allow you to order online or say order online and pick up in store. They also say that you can book like a place and order ahead of time. So you go at that time. I'm assuming I'm saying it right. I saw it for KFC for sure, Pizza Hut as well, saying I walk into the store at this particular time. My order is ready for me to eat inside the store itself, right? So Manish, if I may get your view on how your journey on omnichannel experience has been and what seems to be working well and what is not.
Okay, so us, in India, we have been almost like 26 years, right? What we started as a dine-in legacy brand. And the moment came when we realized delivery is also has to be there, right? Consumers want to access it at the comfort of their home. So like what Mudit rightly mentioned, right? Omnichannel is all about accessibility from the reach perspective, right? If customer wants it to have it at home at his convenience, then you have to solve for that. So it's all about consumer needs and how do you solve for it. Interestingly, like it feels like, yes, we are the, I'm representing the most omni-channel brand per se. But when you do slice and dice of the data, you realize it is not so the case, right? And when I put my all customers, put them into a Venn diagram, looking at their channel preference or channel uses, only dine-in, only online, Swiggy, Zomato, then we realize that there are a large chunk of users who are still not using us across channels, right? And then again, then you look at their basket analysis and then you understand that there are different kind of need states which are catered. If I'm eating for myself alone late night, then why will I step into a store, right? So from omni-channel perspective, from physical reach, it's already been there for many years. We don't have to solve for that much anymore. Now what we're trying to work on is looking at this smaller micro cohorts and figuring out how do we migrate users from one channel need to another? If somebody has given me trust 2 or 3 times on one channel, then we know that he's happy with the product, he's happy with the brand. How can we move him to another channel? How can we nudge him to take his family also for another occasion? That's how we are building on expanding the omni-channel for all our customer sets.
It's very interesting. So figure out the need, and I'm assuming you also figure out the profitability of the channel, and then you say, where do I need to move my cohort towards, right? So I think that's great. Okay, I'm going to go to the next set of questions. And again, everyone knows technology and data is absolutely critical in delivering an omni-channel experience. Right? I think all of us spoke about it. So I'm going to try to push that point forward really and try to understand that the role in your mind technology is increasingly playing and largely the challenges. Right? And I think, and I'll not be surprised if 90% of what the panel says are the challenges that you guys are facing. Right? So I'm also going to ask you to push that point and saying, therefore, what are the steps that you guys are planning to take to address it? Harmonize data, technology solutions across channels, one view of the customer, making sure you can make decisions a lot more real time. And I know there are a lot of partners who are here who are trying to deliver the solution or solve for it. I met a few of them as well. So give us your perspective on that.
So if you look at data, signals, everything converges at some point, and we all want to create a robust ecosystem where you start making sense of data. But the fallacy with data is it can be misinterpreted also, and it could leave you to a totally different tangent, doing something completely off what you were planning to do. A couple of examples I wanted to just cite here, and these are just insights that are freely available as research material. Areas in India, pockets in India, in cities, use paints differently. So the kind of colors that you see in north might be very different from what you see in south, east, west, whatnot. Now when you start marrying data, you realize that there is a certain demand for certain type of colors in one area, and then you start over-indexing on that. Now from an omnichannel journey perspective and from a data mitigation perspective to ensure that you're going in the right direction, you start offloading or start having conversations with people around that. But it's not as linear as that, right? Because it's a vast array. Now, when you're talking about a vast array, you can't be very specific. And then when you are building your strat around it, this data interpretation can sometimes lead to a blind spot, not catering to that micro pockets that are existing over here. Moving on to a second example, I think Nike concept stores, when I was reading about it a few years ago, I found it to be a very interesting blend of how you're using data technology together to identify trends which are very, very localized in nature. Now, when you're going hyper-local, understanding the need of a particular community and catering to those needs at the relevant point, because again, it could be, it's a cycle, right? You'll have changes faster than most of the other categories. So you leverage it instantaneously. So the question comes that while you are stitching data, you're having the tech backbone to make sense of it, how fast are you reacting to it? If the speed is fast to react and build something around it, I think you start getting advantage, a first mover advantage, because in our category, it's not so strong as such right now. It's predominantly on the color side, a little bit on the aesthetic side. But how quickly you move will determine how strong you enter that particular catchment. So that's
a very interesting point. And I think, again, just to nuance this, depending on the product or the business category that you're in. If you're in a digital business where your product's digital, you're delivering it digital, this whole concept of being absolutely real-time and responding to situations works really well, right? Obviously, if you're in a D2C where you're selling a physical, I mean, banks, for example, I believe they're purely a digital business. They've got physical channels as well, but for them to adapt to what the consumer needs is much faster, easier. Then it's obviously the D2C businesses where, yes, you can adapt to the experience, but you can't change your distribution chain overnight, right? Or you can't necessarily change your pricing overnight, right? Because there are obviously implications of it, or you can't launch a product overnight, right? And obviously then there's the physical products where people like me, where the challenge of that actually even becomes worse, right? So I can't launch a product in 1 month. I still need 3, 4, 5, 6 months to deliver that. So I think that's an interesting thing. Data is very critical. Your ability to make sense out of it is very critical. And depending on your business category, how much can you actually leverage it, right? Kirtika, if I come to you, right? Again, from your experience, where do you see the challenges on leveraging technology to deliver an omni-channel experience? And what are some of the things that you've done which are actually addressing those?
Sure. So again, I'll wear a dual hat and give you two perspectives on this. One from a pure D2C perspective, and the other from a retail-first company, which is also doing online kind of a thing. So if I take Plix, for example, we have, of course, implemented a CDP. We have brought together a lot of consumer data points. But is it holistic? The real answer is no. There are a lot of data gaps. While from our own first-party data, we have all the signals. We have like numerous data points that we have taken of what product the customer browsed, what were they interested in, which channel did they come through, did they watch an Instagram video, all of those. But data from, say, marketplaces, we do not get adequate data to plug that back. So many times a customer might have, seen our ad on YouTube or on Instagram, some kind of communication that they received. They might have come to our website, browsed and purchased it on Amazon or, say, one of the quick com platforms. I will not have the full view of that journey. So what we try is that based on best possible signals that we get and whatever data is available from these, which directly we are not owning, we try to stitch back to whatever extent it is possible and then run some analytics on top of it and then try to provide the customer with a much better experience in terms of giving customized offers, any kind of recommendation, etc. On the other hand, if you take a retail first kind of a brand like a Westside, you own all the channels over there. So every single data point is stitched through and through, be it an online feedback that the customer has shared, an offline purchase behavior. Everything is very seamlessly integrated. There, the kind of leverage that you get in using the data is tremendously powerful. So what you are able to do is that at the right point, at the right time, you can upsell to the customer because you have the exact data of what other signals of affluence are there, for example, around a person's house. And from that, you can deduce that why push a 1,500 rupee product when the customer can possibly spend like 4,000 rupees? And that's the next pitch you will be making to the customer. And those signals you pick up, like the richer your data is, the more signals that you get, the more robust your decision making and what you might potentially do with the data as well.
Super. No, I agree. And I know I'll not be surprised if all of us agree that getting all data in one place continues to be one of the biggest struggles and challenges. And as marketers, obviously we drive that conversation a lot more in organizations today. Manish, I think I know a lot of the basic things that we're talking about are taken care of in your setup, right? You've got a strong, interlinked, seamless platform. And I'm assuming in most cases, the data is fairly centralized as well, as you were saying. Tell us where you're seeing the opportunities to further, springboard from where you are today?
So if I say on data piece, many times when people start this journey, people start hearing about CDPs, things like those, and get too much first about, so much work to be done. I would say don't bother about CDP first. There are other ways to do it. Start building up. Even your marketing automation platform can solve for a lot of these things. Just that you need to have the right event configurations. Capture as many events as possible from your website journey so that you can do whatever possible from your marketing automation platform. You will reach a stage when you will really feel that, yes, need for CDP is also there. So I'll say, take the first step. Don't think about the perfect step in the beginning because the journey becomes difficult to execute, to get investments approval from all those perspectives. So I think take baby steps, start building up building blocks. and then kind of look up that. Like even today, I don't have a CDP, and I don't feel the need. I still feel that there is enough to be done on the current data sets that I have. Yes, we'll reach there. And if I have to put everything on the one go, investments, probably it not would have got approved, or ROI would have been difficult to show. So
And also, I think this whole terminologies in our space confuses the shit out of us, right?
Yes.
I mean, and I'm sure if you principally look at CDP, you'll have that, right? I mean, yes, we can keep hearing to all of that, saying that we should be able to integrate through some 200, to say channels to get data, get single view of the customer. I mean, I have customer data, right? It might be in different tables, different databases. If I have the ability to pull it, I can still actually achieve it. Sorry, I broke your thought.
No,
Go ahead.
that was the whole thought.
Yes.
That as far as you have different data tables, you can synthesize, make sense out of it. You can get a customer analytics agency to do work on that rather than spending on CDP, which is beyond your means right now. Let it be. Don't bother about that. Yeah. So I'll just share some of the interesting examples of how technology can, like you talked about, right? How in food category technology is playing its part. Still not done in India, but some of our countries have implemented how do you deliver fast pizza, right? If I ordered for takeaway that I'll come and pick myself, right? And I know that I take about 5 minutes to bake the pizza. It will be hot and ready to be given to consumer in 5 minutes. But through the app, I can track that customer is still 18 minutes away. Why would I bake the pizza and make it go cold, right? So you can time it basis customers' access movement towards your store. You bake it right that so that it is ready right at the time when customer will be at the place. Same thing that we are doing currently with our aggregator orders. So Swiggy, Zomato, we have a tool called Dragontail, which is Yam-owned global technology platform, which is basically for kitchen management and rider tracking system. So once I get the signal from Swiggy or Zomato that they will be reaching in 8 minutes, then is when I start baking. If they are 12 minutes away, I will not bake the pizza. Otherwise, it will get cold when it reaches the consumer's door. So there are interesting ways technology is helping solve problems at our end.
That's a very interesting point. I just want to underscore that. Which means don't just look at customer data to target better or deliver your message better. I mean, truly try to deliver an experience where the data actually is meaningful to what you deliver to the customer. I think that's a great point. We're out of time. I just want to make one comment. Even, for example, I work for HP. We've got about 750 owned stores. We call them the HP World Stores. And this is my 6th week in the organization. But what I figured is we do a really good job in managing the experience that we deliver in these HP World Stores. However, the challenge also is about how do I deliver a consistent human interaction, right? And which is the part which is absolutely difficult for you to get it right. And I think, I was trying to get to that. So even if you've got the best technology, best data, I walk into a store and the store promoter knows that this is Akash. He's browsed a gaming laptop called Omen from HP, and that's what he's interested in. But if the guy can't necessarily do a good job in cross-selling, upselling, or even closing the sale, the omnichannel experience doesn't necessarily deliver anything, right? So I think there is a big opportunity on how do you enable the store promoter or sales force to make sure that they only focus on closing the sale and they get almost like a way of dealing with almost like a script to how to sell to this particular customer. I think that's also a great opportunity. In my mind, banking financial services do a phenomenal job with this. And I think I'll encourage you to talk to people from banks in the panel. I know Megha is here from DBS Bank, on how banking financial services do a phenomenal job in using data to deliver very sharp insights, including what to say, how to say it, when to say it, to actually the sales guy, not just to the customer, to the sales guy, so that his effectiveness goes up significantly. So that's from our side. We've got roughly a couple of minutes left. If there are any questions, we're happy to take it. Otherwise, we'll say thank you. Any questions? Yes, we've got one. Somebody was listening to us. Thank you very much. Yeah, I get your drink on behalf of Shiny. Anyways, can we get a mic there?
What I want to understand from the panel is what are probably top one or two challenges when you are trying to synthesize data from different sources and cohorts. how are you looking at a one view customer? Is that a, like just a theoretical concept, or is that something that you, as independent brand and P&L owners, do you strive for? Or is that something that you think, this is, your brands are good without it? What's your perspective on that?
Sure. Like I was saying earlier also, the data is not complete. It's not like all the parts are there. We also attempt to gather the data, and we use some solutions in which we can bridge the gap. Like even within online space itself, the moment your customer moves to a third-party marketplace, there is limited control and limited set of data that's going to come to you. You can try to stitch together using some indicators, and then there are things like, if you're selling a physical product, things like, encouraging the customer to check the authenticity of the product they have bought on a third party. That way they are coming somewhere to you and you're able to capture the data. At Plix, we offer complimentary diet plans and nutritionist consultation with all our supplements. That way we encourage the customers that irrespective of the channel that you have bought it, we want to offer this to you as a customer, and therefore why don't you scan this and try. So those are ways in which we try to bridge the gap. It is not complete, not everybody will end up doing, but it is somewhere making a progress. Also, we have developed the app specifically to help with such things where a customer can go, for example, they can scan, they can take a quiz, identify things, engage in a lot many more ways. It's not directly only purchase. There are a lot many more things for the customer to experience. And then whichever channel they choose to, they can engage over there.
Makes sense.
So, I just want to add something controversial over here. See, when you are building a CDP or a single view of a customer, at the end of the day, there are two mechanisms. One is your in-house, and the other is the enrichment of data that we so as call it in our terms, right? Now, my experience has taught me that the enrichment part, because of the information economy that we live in, everyone is almost doing everything. Sure. So there is no one who is not researching a car, who's also not researching shoes, who's not also doing something else. Everyone is doing everything. So if everyone is doing everything, how do you start making sense of this data? And that's where I think what Kritika was also highlighting, the essence was, what are they doing with me? What they do with me as a brand is what is important, and that becomes the foundation and the base over which you can do whatever cohorting you want to, because reliability of what gets added on top of it, question mark in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I think, do you need a one view of the customer? Yes. What do you need for is your answer. It's not an answer that any one of us can give, right? And I think, again, this is back to what Manish is saying. We can talk about data till the cows come home. We can say we need the world's data. As Mudit was saying, keep enriching it. Know everything about the customer. वो कहाँ जा रहा है, क्या कर रहा है. It solves for nothing unless you have a question and a problem to solve. So I think the part that I keep asking all the time is, okay, what are we trying to solve for? And unless you don't have that, even in your current business, and as Manish was saying, hold on, right? You don't need a one view of the customer. I mean, there is a question, problem, your ability to solve for it, answer that first, right? So that's our time, and I truly want to appreciate the panel here. There's a lot more that this panel actually has to talk, offer, experience, example. Please do sort of say catch hold of them after the panel. Truly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Akash. I think I can always bank on you to bring out those insightful conversations. And a big thank you to our panelists for those insights. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a great session, and we have more great sessions lined up.